How do you feel like when you're commuting and you're out in the bigger city? What are the things that you see that some of the bigger cities have done that you say, okay, we really need to do this in the Four Corners, or this is really like a high-speed rail for commuting? Is that something that should be a priority in this area between some of the Durango, Farmington, things like that? Because we're starting to get a lot of people that commute between the areas, or is it the development more of the airspace, the airports that we have?
There's a lot of topics in this area. Mike Lewis in the airport is doing an amazing job. They worked just relentlessly to get that United flight back in after we had no service for 7 or 8 years, the Farmington airport. And I know they're trying their hardest to expand that, and I look forward to seeing that expand to more destinations and or more aircraft coming in per day. So right now we're doing service 1 per day. But I've flown that a few times, and for me, getting to Los Angeles is great because I leave here at 6:30 in the morning. Their competitive advantage is that parking is free. So I can get from my house to there in 15 minutes, maybe 10 if I run one red light. Just kidding. It was yellow. But, it's free parking. I can walk into the terminal and be at the aircraft in 5 minutes. So it's easy. So there's a lot of nice options there.
Yeah.
And once that starts expanding more, it's going to increase more options of places to go and things to do and bringing people in as well.
Yeah.
I think in town, for the normal set of folks, I think it's pretty easy to transit. You might have one busy period of rush hour between going to work, school, or coming home. I think one of the areas that I don't want to delve into too much, but I think transportation is still difficult for the poor and the hard. I brought my mom up. She's mentally ill from Albuquerque, and we bought her a home here. So also to go back on the affordability of Farmington, I was able to buy a house here and buy my mom one because it's very affordable. So I have that nice option to bring her here, but it is hard as a person that's homebound to get around and or get services.
Mm-hmm.
That's still one thing just kind of underserved is our...
the walkability factor, or?
Yeah, well, especially if, somebody's elderly or has disabilities or impairments to walk, that is a difficult part of Farmington.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have the Red Apple Transit, but there's a lot of rules and it's very difficult for somebody that's 70 and can barely use an iPhone.
Yeah.
You and I, we could all use it pretty easily, but
even Uber and Lyft just isn't very prominent here, and it's very expensive.
Yeah, Lyft goes, it's great, and they do a wonderful service, and they're nice, but it's like twice the cost of Uber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've used Uber a few times to get just to like events downtown, and $25 one way just to get from our house downtown. It's just not realistic. Eventually I'm hoping we get more because that's pretty similar in Durango, except Durango does have the transit, the bus that goes all around, and it's for college kids free.
See, that'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'd be willing to pay a little bit more taxes, just make it free for our community, right?
Yeah.
Just increase the ability of our community, make it nicer for everybody. Because we don't want a place to live where just the rich prosper, right? You want everybody to have access and have fun and enjoy what we all have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that'll make it nicer, safer, cleaner.
Totally agree.
Yep. That's a wonderful point. And the affordability component, the affordability factor is one thing
it's out of this world.
Yeah.
So I pay a third of what my friends pay in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And I know that's not a fair comparison, but I pay significantly less money for my cost of living, whether it's mortgage, groceries are less, my taxes are significantly less, etc.
Yeah.
So the amount of savings, for me, I used to save for my kids' college. I was able to bring my mom here. I can take care of her.
Quality of life.
So give a lot of options. Yeah. Now I can go on a vacation, whereas my friends in California, I keep throwing California under the bus.
Yeah.
But it's just where I work. But,
it's an easy example.
It is.
Yeah.
But, they're stuck in their home on a staycation year round because they can't afford to go on large vacations.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Whereas this gives you a little bit more flexibility financially.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, any questions, Mr. Marine, to your ride home?
Simplify.
Nope. Hoorah. Nope. I can't think of any.
No, I think one thing you really touched on too was like the community aspect of Farmington. So my husband's retiring relatively soon. So we've been kind of like pitching around, like, where do we want to go? And I've lived here my whole life. So I'm like, I can't imagine going to the grocery store and not seeing someone I know. Or like when we just went to Connie Mack, I was like, wow, we know probably 50 families here, if not more. And just letting your kids be able to like run around and someone's watching them and getting onto them if they're not listening or, or doing something that they shouldn't. It's more like a community aspect, which I feel like you can make in another place. Like we wouldn't be looking necessarily like a Los Angeles or something, but it's kind of like daunting to think about going somewhere
It is.
where you don't know anybody.
Well, it's very difficult just because being in the military and I was active duty for 12 years, it's very difficult to establish friends and relationships just existing at our age unless you get involved. So, our biggest involvement with kids is kids' sports.
Mhm.
And so now all my friends are people from our sports or from our school.
Yeah.
I go to a community and try to pick up some pickleball and you make some friends, but it's nothing like when you have those deeper connections.
Mhm. Do you find that like, is it more like little kind of groups like in Los Angeles where it'd be just your kids' sports, or is it more like the extracurriculars or hobbies?
Yeah, I guess it depends on just how social you are and how involved you are in those events.
That makes sense. Yeah, that'd be weird to just go somewhere and not know anybody.
Yeah.
Every restaurant,
You're not meeting people in the grocery store.
No.
I mean, you're really
Yeah.
not.
They
I
might
mean,
run from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also too, so like in a big city like that, people generally, I get the sense there's so many people, they just try to hunker down and become insular and do their own thing, right? Because they got to protect your own identity, your own sanity. Whereas here you have that openness, that expansiveness. So you can go to the grocery store where I opened the door for a guy the other day. He's like, hey, you have a good day. I'm like, oh, you talked to me.
Yeah.
And, I'm kind of the idiot in Los Angeles. I'm smiling. I'm like, hi. And everybody's like, why is this guy saying hi? What does he want? Is he trying to steal from me? And it's just,
Ask me for something.
yeah, it's that small town perspective where it's very friendly here.
Well, I grew up outside of Boston.
Oh,
and
nice.
So that's kind of the big city, but everything was kind of like smaller communities. So when you have something that's so big, everybody tries to make their own neighborhood, their
Absolutely.
own town, kind of their small town vibe. So it's like when people think about the big city, you're not just like in the middle of Boston or Los Angeles and all those, you see the pictures of Times Square or
Yep.
the traffic in LA. That's not how it is. You kind of have your own community where your schools are. But because there's nothing around us for forever, it's kind of like we're on an island all
Absolutely.
stuck together.
Yeah.
So we've made our own little community.
I think
That's a very
Farmington
good
is
point.
very unique too, because it's not a small town, but it's definitely not a city, But me and my dad were talking about this. It's almost like so many people, but there's kind of almost, I would say this is one of the downsides for me is everybody knows everybody's business, but it's a little bit, I don't want to say more judgmental, but you kind of have a standard that people expect you to adhere to versus I think if you're in a really big city or a really, really small town, you're like, well, that's just Todd. He just does that sometimes. People are a little bit more like,
It's just Ben. He runs
Yep.
like an ostrich.
yep, he's just running backwards down the street. So I think that's the one, I wouldn't say it's a downside here, but it is kind of unique in the sense of there's kind of expectations on how to act and what you're doing here. And
Which makes it nice community.
it is a nice community. I like a little quirkiness
Yeah.
and individualism a
Yeah.
little bit more.
But you can't kind of like you were saying, insulated. You can't just go, I'm in my own shell. I'm not going to say hi to anybody because I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm just going to, live my life and kind of float in and out when I want to. But that's not really the case in a small town. It kind of has that double-edged sword, what you're saying. So fantastic conversation, Joe. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming in.
Can I give you one more story?
Yep.
You guys will love this, I think. So they always say you have like 6 degrees of separation, right? Like within 6 people, you're going to know somebody that another person knows.
Specifically Kevin Bacon. Yeah.
Yeah. But in Farmington, you probably have 2 or 3 degrees of separation, if not 1, right? Which makes it kind of special. But probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was flying a 757 with Delta from Salt Lake to Washington, D.C. And that plane loads and unloads from the front third, the door 2. So all of first class goes out, and then all the other economy classes come out that door. And from the flight deck, we go back after we clean up and go say goodbye to the passengers, etc. So there's one wheelchair passenger up in the front in first class. And it was a captain's landing, so I cleaned up the flight deck, and he went to go say goodbye to everybody at door 2. And so after I cleaned up everything and got our bags out and set up ready to go on to the hotel, I saw a first class passenger. I was like, well, I might as well engage and just discuss life with her and just talk, say hi, see how their day's going. And so we're talking, and I was like, hey, what's your story? Why are you going to Washington, D.C.? She's like, oh, I'm going to go address Congress for the Paralympics. I don't know if I told you this story.
No, you haven't.
Okay, this is kind of cool. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I was like, what's your role in the Paralympics? She's like, well, I have 2 golds, one in winter, one in summer. I was like, interesting. My wife knows somebody like that. And you probably know that person's name. I don't remember what it is. I'm sorry. I'm tired from flying all day.
Yeah.
And she's like, where do you live? And I was like, Farmington, New Mexico. She's like, is your wife Tiffany? And it was Elena Nichols
I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
who
yeah.
grew up here in Farmington.
Yes.
And she flew from Anchorage to Salt Lake to DC, and I happened to fly with her. And it kind of made me step back. I was like, how many people do I fly in the United States that I know, but I don't know they're on board?
Yeah.
You know, because oftentimes you don't see your pilots. You might hear my voice. You might hear the other person's voice.
Sure.
And so I talked to her for about 10 minutes. You know, we got photos and sent it to my wife. And I was like, look who I found. What are the odds?
That's incredible. I mean, I have so many stories similar to that of my in-laws or my family or us in general. We're at some airport and we'll bump into people that have been through this area of the Four Corners or know us or know our family or whatever else. So, I mean, this small town reaches quite a ways out there, which is pretty awesome. I mean, that's one of those things that you get these incredible connections with people because you live in a smaller community, and those connections are strong and they're widespread.